You have just stepped into the Midlife Revolution, your space to ignite possibility, redefine purpose, and embrace the power that comes with age. Co-hosted by yours truly, Coach Wayne.
And I'm Coach Stacy M. Lewis, and we're two seasoned coaches focused on the midlife community of color. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement. In a world that sometimes forgets the power and the wisdom that comes with age, we're here to ignite a revolution and rewrite the narrative of this incredible journey.
So, whether you're navigating career shifts, rediscovering passions, or challenging the status quo, this is your space. So buckle up. Let's dive into the Midlife Revolution. Good morning. Good morning. It's Tuesday, April. Yes, April the 9th. And a lot is happening. Yesterday, I don't know who saw the phenomenon of the eclipse, but wow. My name is Coach Wayne, and I help Black men and other men of color through what's called the midlife journey, so that on the second half, they can have their better half. Today, I'm happy to be co-hosting with the none and only Coach Stacy M. Lewis. Good morning, Stacy.
Woo, woo, woo. Good morning, Coach Wayne. What is so funny to those of you in our listening audience is Wayne shared the fact that while he has grown and gained in wisdom, somehow he decided that it was a good idea to actually look up at the sun yesterday without the proper glasses. So welcome everyone to the Midlife Revolution. We're so excited to have you here where we get to just talk about some of the things that impact us in this midlife season. Importantly, some of the practical tips, tools, and resources that we can use to help us all maximize our potential. I'm Stacy M. Lewis. I serve as a nonprofit executive as well as a midlife women's coach. And I am excited to be here today for this episode of the Midlife Revolution, where we are going to talk about upping your work from home game. So whether you are working for someone else and working remotely, or you're an entrepreneur and you have established your kingdom, your working kingdom at home, this is your opportunity to be reminded of some of the tips, techniques, and opportunities to step up that work from home game. So, Wayne, it's always so good to be here with you, and hopefully, we will drop some nuggets that will help other people.
Well, Stacey, since you started off dropping some nuggets about me and my wisdom, let me just save the day by saying I did have some sunglasses on. It wasn't the prescribed types that NASA approved to protect your eyes. But I want to say this much. I did all of half a second just looking up. I went out on the lawn and took a quick glimpse up just about when the eclipse was I don't know what was happening, but the sun was so brilliant. It's almost as if you had a magnifying glass 1,000 times its strength, magnifying the thing. And oh man, listen, I was blinking for about half a minute to move those black spots out of my eyesight once I did that. So we're not always wiser, with decisions because of age. And so don't follow me, folks. Just make sure that you're going across applying wisdom to and listening to other people, right? As you get older. Stacey, today you mentioned that before we start, Stacey, how was your week?
My week actually, it's only Tuesday, but since we were together last week, I have to say I'm just really grateful that it is spring. I tell you, this winter was a doozy here in Pennsylvania. And so I'm excited. I'm excited for Q2. I'm excited for spring, this time of renewal and beauty and color. And all is well with me. How about with you, sir?
I love spring, Stacy. I'm an all around summer baby. You know, a lot of folks are like, "You're in Florida, man. You must go to the beach a lot." Not. I don't like the beach at all, Stacy. And in my earlier life, I lived on beachfronts across the Caribbean. In the capacity of a resort specialist, setting up all inclusive resorts in the 80s. And so I had the pleasure to be a professional beach bum. But I enjoy the aesthetics of water always. I'm a fire sign. I'm a Leo. Water puts me out, Stacy.
Well, this is quite interesting. The more you know someone, you know that there's always more you can learn. And so I had no idea that while he lived in Florida, he doesn't like the beach. I can't even relate. Being, in Pennsylvania, getting to the shore is a bit of a chore, but it is a chore worth the journey. So you you are funny.
It's all good. It's all good. But I'll tell you, as we get into today's, it's beautiful to have the option, having fired corporate America about 3 years ago, to
Mm.
have the option and privilege to work from my home office right here, and having dedicated a space and time to just lock away. And, I wanted us today, as you and I delved last week into what we might want to talk about, since more and more people after COVID have had the opportunity to work remotely or in a hybrid environment or exclusively from home. I thought maybe it would be a good idea to talk about some pointers that can help folks deliver a productive and professional output.
I agree. I think that while we've gotten very comfortable, it's almost like they removed the rules about how to dress at work or how to show up at work, and we've forgotten that we are still presenting ourselves to someone else, to others, and yes, there's plenty of opportunity for informal or casual, if that is the setting. But hopefully, those of you that have gotten maybe just a little too comfortable or no longer presenting yourself in the way that is in alignment with who you want people to see you as. Our hope is that these tips and pointers just are easy actions that you can take to really step up that game.
Absolutely. And Stace, let's jump right off. Let's talk about devoting space
Mm.
and what that looks like. And if we have any tips for the folk listening in regarding the space that we will be working from home.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that, some of us have the opportunity, have been afforded the opportunity to have a very clear and dedicated space where we can work, where we can set up things, where we don't have to worry about what's happening behind us, and we can present ourselves in a comfortable environment. And at the same time, some of us are working from corners of a room. But even if you're doing that, there is a way to make your situation present as a nice office.
Stacey, what about folk who they want to have a virtual background? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
there are rules for that in terms of the green screen and in some cases a blue screen, but they don't. And what happens is you see their air being chopped off, their head dissolving in the background. They put their hand out, and all of a sudden it's warped. Those are things that we have to be mindful of when we talk about creating space. In the space that I have right now, and again, it's important to look at, we'll talk about that again, in terms of sharing space, but it's important. Can you use the space that you have? Uh,
Hmm.
there are backgrounds that you can pop up for a green screen if you want to use the virtual ones, and just put it behind your chair. But make sure that the clutter behind you is cleaned up. You don't have anything that's embarrassing in the back there showing up. And clean your space and organize your space. Make sure you have the space that you're using uh, is devoted to that time frame, like your cubicle would be.
I totally agree. And when we had cubicles and those of us that had offices, right? When you were inviting people in to your office or to your cubicle, you didn't want to invite them into a mess that made you look unorganized. And so, yes, I think if you have the opportunity to have a green screen, some of them can be very expensive. They have some that sit on your chair. So it's not that you have to have, this elaborate setup. But if you're going to use a virtual background or even blur your background, consider a green screen, because even in the blur, next thing you know, somebody's ear is gone, or they turn to pick up a book and they just vanish. And what happens is, on the other end, it's distracting. So every bit of professionalism that you showed up with in the very beginning, once you lean back and you disappear, I'm thrown off. So consider addressing your background, whether green screen, whether neatening it up, whether sitting in a corner in a way that you don't have to worry about what's behind you, but it looks very clean and presentable.
Stacy, number two is sort of funny, but it's not. My daughter supervises a team, and there's this young person. They eventually, I think, excused her from the job, but
Okay.
this young lady showed up with a bonnet on her head, and yes, and in a Zoom meeting, and on another occasion at a poolside. So I want to talk about work. Shall we talk a little bit about work ethics and the responsibility? We're talking about discipline that you must have, because listen, there is no boss next door. If you're working from home, it's about self-discipline and being self-motivated. And self-discipline is, showing up on time
Yes.
and managing yourself in such a way that when the cameras are off and they're looking for you, you're not at the poolside.
Well, it's very hard not to chuckle out loud at the poolside, and what an opportunity for training, where those of us who have experienced career and have experienced, in particular, being in the in-person work setting, can really train up, teach, inform those that maybe this is their first or second job, and they are less accustomed to working remotely, or to that lack of, or to that autonomy that they have when they work remotely. I mean, to show up poolside, that is not something that I would have ever considered. But there's a level of maturity that says, don't do that. And so it is really imperative that folks show up like they want to be received, like they want people to perceive them, and making sure that that's on time, that whether that's, showing up on Zoom or Skype or business Skype, or whatever technology your organization or business is using, to say, I'm online, I'm here, I'm on time, and when the camera comes on, I will not have on a bonnet.
Yeah, and it's not the time to serve or have your wife or husband serve you a plate of dinner while you're trying to get, some word out to your team and your scene. And number three, we want to talk about is, do you share the space with
Mm.
someone else? Because oftentimes we share the space, and that I speak here of two ways of sharing. One is somebody else who uses the office space or some space next door for their office and they're on meetings, and sharing space in terms of your kids or somebody that you take care of as a caregiver that's in the space. And so we're talking about people distraction.
People distraction. Yes, and that too can play into the whole background scenario, right? Because if you have up a green screen and somebody walks behind your green screen, I have no idea that that's happening. And at the same time, what it says when someone walks behind you or when your children come in is that you're not fully present in the meeting. And yes, we understand that things happen. This is life, and life gets to lifing, and sometime someone will come in and interrupt, but don't make that your norm. Really making sure that if you're sharing space, that that there's an understanding of how we're going to share this space, so that when I'm on a call, maybe I have to use a headset so that all of the other chatter, maybe that other person is on a call, um, is not heard or is not interrupting. But there has to be a way that allows you as the individual to show up fully present and engaged in the conversation.
Yeah. And certainly there has to be that communication with the folks in the house. Mommy, daddy is on the phone right now. I can't come to you. Uh, Play in this area, or have somebody take care of the issues that you would normally be responsible for during that half an hour while you're on a call. So managing people is important, and to have those agreements prior to getting busy, that's
Right,
important. Yeah.
right.
And number four is we're halfway down the mark, I think we are. And number four is, can you screen out other distractions?
Mm,
Like Tuesdays, typically the landscapers do the lawns here. And
mm,
so if I'm not careful, I want to make sure that at the time that I'm on a call, I don't hear the roar of a lawnmower. Some calls, and typically I'm fortunate enough to have buffers where I use drapery that's heavy enough to absorb some
mm.
sounds. And some folk, you might want to use carpeting if you want to go that deep. It depends on how sensitive it is, the information you're sharing, and if you're presenting to other people, right? To screen
Yeah.
out distractions. But talk about pets, for example, Stacy. I know you have a dog. How do you manage that distraction?
I do. I have a 7-year-old Havanese named Bernardo. He is the cutest thing in the whole wide world. And at the same time, yes, when the UPS guy shows up, or the Amazon delivery woman shows up, yes, he can go off. So there are two things that I do. One is I do close the doors to try to keep him outside of my office. And at the same time, after he barges in, there are times that I will, in the beginning of a conversation, apologize in advance in case my dog does not behave as he should. And I think sometimes that's all it takes is a simple, please forget my dog may go off or may barge in, or I am expecting a delivery. And so, in case my dog decides to bark, please forgive us and keep it moving. And they are animals. They're right up there with, with us human beings. Sometimes they do the darndest things at the darndest times.
Yeah. And try to remember to put your phone on do not disturb or turn the volume or down. That sort of thing is important. And like you mentioned before, earbuds and headphones, they
Yeah.
serve as a wonder, right?
Yes, yes, and you mentioned turning your phone down. I think another tip is to ensure that you stay focused when you are in a virtual call. And I know for us as coaches, folks are paying for our undivided attention. And so when you are on a call, I also have a job where I show up on a call. I should not be looking down at my cell phone trying to respond to my girlfriend saying, "What's up, girl?" I should be fully engaged. And yes, again, emergencies happens, family or something takes place where you have to take a look at your device. But let's be really mindful of when it's absolutely necessary and when it can wait until
Yeah,
the call
speaking
is
of
over.
distractions, I'm getting some flickering here, and I thought it
Oh,
was something that we
technology.
smooth out. So I got to get back to my tech support folk and see if we can figure that out.
The
Yeah,
technology. That's it can be gold or it can be a little challenging at times. I'm sorry you're having flickering issues.
yeah, yeah. I think the info is kind of shocking. Stacy, number five is how do we stay focused? Can we stay focused? You talked about that, especially with the buzz of technology everywhere around us. But are there strategies that you employ in terms of just staying focused? Because you can get tired just by standing in front of a screen all day long. What are some of the things that you employ, you know, to stay focused?
You're absolutely right. For me, it is the preparation ahead of time is what helps me stay focused. Is depending upon the level, we'll say, of the call, or of the meeting, I will literally take my home phone out of my office. I will take my cell phone out of my office and, make sure that I have everything I need in advance of the call starting. Again, as a coach, it is imperative that I'm focused, solely honed in on everything that my client is saying. And so I want to show up fully present, and focus really is on them, on the call. And, in my day to day work activities, I'm really trying to show up as fully present, because it's hard. Sometimes it's difficult to lead virtually. But when you lead a team, you're really trying to show up as actively engaged and focused on the conversation at hand so that others follow your lead. And so for me, focus is really key, regardless of why you're showing up virtually, that you show up focused.
Absolutely. And there are strategies that folks employ in terms of the amount of detail, focus, and presence that you have while you're doing a task. And then you take a break, get some air, just circulate a bit, and get back in because we do have burnout
Yes.
and screen fatigue, right?
Screen fatigue. Yes, you're absolutely right. And I think it's okay to as a meeting is being scheduled, as you are scheduling a meeting, to say, is it okay if we go no cameras, that we meet audio only? Because you're right, sometimes looking at yourself all day long can be exhausting. But really the preparation it requires to show up and be fully present sometimes is less about the visual and more about how you feel. And so I think when those opportunities present themselves, to not use the cameras, that we should take advantage of them.
Yeah, we got two more pointers to go. But
Sure.
Stacey, one of the things that just to add to that, when I'm in Florida and I have folks that are local in South Florida, I will sometimes split my on-screen time with in-person time, just so
Mm,
that it's a whole different appeal altogether.
mm.
And I can
Well,
feel
you
folks
might
getting
make
tired.
me you might cause me to get on a plane to Hawaii. One of my clients is in Hawaii. So if I have to do a personal meeting in Hawaii, okay, I'll do it.
Pretty cool, but expensive over there. So now we're getting ready to wrap up, as we said. So let's get into the last two. Um, how about structured scheduling? So that,
Mm,
like I use a system of time blocks. And
mhm,
what I find that works for me, and I share this with my client Stacy, is your most critical things to do are blocked when you have your highest attention span and
mm.
focus periods. For some, it's the first 2 hours of the morning. For others, it's right after lunch in the afternoon, if they're not, sleepy. So when you find out what your optimum periods of productivity are, you could, if you are not pressured by a boss to turn something in, structure your time. For example, if you want to do email reading, you can structure it, block times for specific activities throughout your day to stay on target.
You're absolutely right. And so I admit I got a little bit hijacked only because my dog started gruffing, as we were talking about before, because some other dog is outside barking. But the idea of structuring, and one point that you really honed in on, is optimizing your strength time. Is your strength time the morning time, the afternoon time, the evening time, whatever it is? Optimize that. When you are going to be functioning and producing at your highest level, that's when you want to schedule whatever is the most important. So I love that idea of, scheduling and time blocking and really making the most of your time.
And in the last 3.5 minutes, we're going to summarize. But before we do that, the point number 7 that we discussed and wanted to share with our midlifers as they look at options to work from home is building time for movement and exercise, right?
Mm.
That's so crucial. I'll start off and you can have the last word, Stacy. I have a remote and a standing desk that when I'm tired of sitting, I simply raise the desk. And so I can stand, my camera raises with it, and I can function on my feet rather than being seated all day. We're not made to sit all day.
Right, right. My hips will tell you we're not made to sit all day. Um, you're absolutely correct. And, I'll be totally transparent. Just one, but one of the reasons that I got a dog is because I knew that having a dog, I believe in dog walking, in walking, and I knew that having this animal would force me to get out and walk more. So I agree with you, really ensuring that there are ways that you can be active and utilizing some of those tools that we have access to, whether it be the Calm app or your Pomodoro timer, or even just the simple reminder in your phone, setting it for every hour so that you get up and walk around for 5 minutes or whatever it takes. And Wayne, I'm just telling, clearly your fan club is here today talking about the standing desk. I don't know, we might have to get a standing desk sponsor for our Midlife Revolution series, and you'll just have to plug them every episode. But I do believe in that getting up, walking around, even just stretching for 5 minutes, whether it be your neck, your arms, your wrists, because you're right. We get so settled and sunk into these chairs. And before you know it, hours have passed and we've been sitting, and that's not good for us.
Yeah. Thanks, Terrell, for joining. It's Stacey, you mentioned Pomodoro, and I'll just invite folks to Google that. We can chat more about it, but it is, in
Sure.
fact, one of the strategies that I use in terms of time management with my clients. And again, Stacey, we're in the outro. We're going to share with folks how they can get in touch with us for discovery calls to see how coaching can help them take themselves through mid-career changes and midlife issues to the
Hmm.
next level.
To the
And
next level.
yeah, Stacy, thank you for joining me today. As always,
It's
thank you,
always a
everyone.
pleasure. Thank you to our listening audience. And if you check out the replay, we'll see you there.
And there you have it, folks. This week's episode of the Midlife Revolution. Hey, we truly appreciate you spending this time in this space with us. Join us next week at the same time as we dive into relevant topics and present solutions to spark new thinking and empower your midlife journey.
Don't forget, if today's episode resonated with you, share your thoughts and suggest topics in the comments. And of course, remember to subscribe, share, like, and hit that notification bell. You are the Midlife Revolution. I'm Coach Stacy, and I'm cheering you on.
And I'm Coach Wayne, and I'll see you at the top.